So this is House File 2281, and I think I'll ask Vice Chair Keeler if she can to move House File 2281 to bring that before the committee.
I move House File 2281 before us, Chair.
Thank you, Madam Vice Chair. And then Representative Hill, you do have a author's amendment, the A1. Is that correct, Representative Hill? You want us to move that?
Yes, that would be the motion.
Okay. Looks like just a technical, just a tweak. And Vice Chair Keeler, you willing to move the A1 amendment?
I move the A1 amendment.
Okay, members, any discussion to the A1? So hearing none, all in favor of the A1 amendment, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay. So the bill is amended in the way you wish, Representative Hill, and please proceed with presenting your bill.
Wonderful. Thank you. Very briefly, thank you, Chair Pinto and members of the committee. Very briefly, I want to move and walk through House File 2281, which addresses early learning licensure and the ability for those who serve in these roles to join their local bargaining units. Section 1 of this bill requires licensure for all of our early learning programs and their practitioners. And currently in Minnesota, we have a number of school-based early learning programs that do require licensure. And these include School Readiness Plus, also early childhood family education programs. Other programs, however, do not require this licensure, and those include voluntary pre-K and also some school readiness programs. This became more urgently needed after a law passed in 2017 included language that created a voluntary pre-kindergarten program without licensure requirements. Now, many districts do post jobs that have, quote, a highly desired qualification attached. But since it's not a requirement in statute or the district, the position is not eligible to join the local existing bargaining unit. This does a few things, but it goes on to harm the teachers in the program as they are vulnerable and can often be paid much less than other licensed teachers. And it also has the potential of interfering with the age-appropriate delivery of instruction, especially if the teacher does not have the proper training in brain development and play-based learning that's appropriate for children of this age. Section 2 of this bill allows these teachers to be members of their local teachers bargaining unit, and it is regardless of their licensure. And it allows for units that have been organized by unions that are currently existing for those individuals to remain with those unions. For example, SEIU Local 284 has organized the early childhood and early learning programs in Hopkins, and this language would allow for them to stay with their union. Section 2 also in House File, Section 2 is also found in House File 1690 and 1691, and these bills have been heard in the House Education Policy, State Government, Judiciary, and Labor Committees. Section 2 is also included in Chair Pryor's Education Omnibus Bill. Again, here's the current reality. Most voluntary pre-kindergarten teachers are licensed, but with openings and postings that say they prefer a licensed educator, rarely hire someone without a license. And so that's not the issue. The issue is that this technicality allows for these teachers to remain vulnerable. It allows our youngest learners to be in a situation where they may be served with someone that does not have the proper preparation and training. So with that, we have a few folks that have signed up to testify, and I'd like to turn it over to them.
That sounds good. Let's have those folks. Okay. And so I'm going to call up Sarah Craig first. I'll have you come up first. I'm going to change the order just slightly. And then once you get settled in, please identify yourself and proceed with your testimony. Welcome.
Hi, I'm Sarah Craig.
Yeah, please proceed with your testimony.
Good morning, Chair Pinto and members of the committee. My name is Sarah Craig, and I've been a proud teacher in my district for more than 10 years. I hold a Minnesota state license in pre-primary education as well as elementary education. I hold a master's degree from St. Catherine University. I could write a book about the importance and value of early education. I'm guessing if you're part of this committee that you know the enormous impact of early education and early intervention on children. Preschool children deserve professional, licensed teachers. We work in tandem every day with other professional service providers, such as licensed school nurses, occupational therapists, psychologists, etc. We are required to be individual education plan team members for all of our students who receive special services. 1/3 of the students in our preschool classrooms are on IEPs. Preschool children deserve teachers who have a high level of knowledge and understand the complexities of the developmental continuum. 3 times a year, we rate our students on over 50 objectives based on MDE's early childhood progress indicators of progress. With this information, we work to individualize each child's learning path so that no matter where they start, they're moving forward in all areas of development. Until recently, all teachers in South Washington County schools were required to be licensed, from our ECFE teachers who work with infants and parents to our adult basic education teachers. This changed in 2018 when our school board, under the recommendation of our then superintendent, voted to no longer require state licensure for teachers in our preschool program. This decision de facto expunged 23 teachers out of a contract and out of the district's teacher union. Previously, preschool teachers had been in the same salary scale, had worked for tenure status, and had the same responsibilities, rights, and benefits as our colleagues. Since this vote, many preschool teachers found other positions either in K-12 or outside of our district. Our youngest learners deserve teachers who are licensed and meeting their needs. This loophole needs to be closed now so that preschool children can benefit from the best teachers that our state has to offer. So why is this necessary? South Washington went as far as saying we could no longer call ourselves teachers. They were stripping that title from us so we couldn't form our own union. Well, we fought that, and we did end up forming our own union. So why is this necessary if we formed our own union? Our early learning unit is small and does not have the same power in numbers as we would as part of the main teacher union. This has created a 2-tier system for those who were hired before 2020 and lower salary for those hired after that date. As far as I am aware, all of my preschool colleagues hold a license, yet the district uses the statute to treat us differently. My question is this the kind of employment environment we want to have in schools in the state of Minnesota? Do we want teachers of some of our youngest students who are in a crucial stage of development to fight to show their worth despite being fully licensed and with post-baccalaureate degrees? Changing this law is the best way to get preschool children the educational experiences that they deserve. Thank you.
Thank you so much, and thanks for your work. Thanks for being with us. I'm going to call up Dominic Kirkpatrick, please, as the next testifier. Okay. Hi, and please identify yourself. Are you Dominic Kirkpatrick?
I am.
Okay, good. Well, welcome. It's so glad to have you, and please proceed.
Thank you. Good morning, Chair Pinto and committee members. My name is Dominic Kirkpatrick. I'm a teacher on special assignment, currently serving as president of both the Eden Prairie Education Association and the Eden Prairie Preschool Education Association. This morning, I am here to lend my voice of support for House File 2281. Currently, our state has 2 of the necessary components to fulfill the mission set by the Minnesota Department of Education to have a highly skilled workforce to serve our youngest learners. First, our institutions of higher ed continue to research and design and prepare educators in the specialized pedagogy needed to have highly effective teachers for our youngest learners. And secondly, PELSB recognizes and certifies the education and the skills of those individuals before issuing that highly specialized early learner teaching license, such as a birth to grade 3 teaching license. But a critical component is currently missing from the equation: the requirement for licensing of preschool teachers and the subsequent definition of teacher under Minnesota state statute. This has become a problematic component for staff, administrators, and students alike. In many districts like my own, preschool classrooms and kindergarten classrooms are in the same elementary schools, side by side. We have educators who have graduated from the same universities, hold the same degree, and hold the same Minnesota teaching license. Yet, depending on which classroom that educator is in, determines whether or not that educator is deemed certified teacher or not. That definition of teacher dictates whether or not the educator is an at-will employee, how they are or are not bound by probationary periods, what salary and benefits they receive, and whether or not they have rights to join the bargaining unit with other staff who also hold Minnesota teaching licenses. And as a result, the mission to have highly trained and effective educators for our youngest learners is failing, because we are seeing those educators who love engaging with those preschool students leave the preschool classrooms to teach kindergarten right next door, or third grade 3 doors down. And we are seeing administration having to lower their expectations in the hiring processes to get an adult into that preschool classroom.
And I'll maybe ask you to wrap up the next minute if you can.
Thank you. In addition, we're seeing high turnover rates and instructors who are lacking the adequate preparation. As the only public preschool option for families in my community, that is unconscionable. And so I thank the authors of the bill who bring this important bill to light, not only for the high-quality preschool education our youngest learners deserve, but also for the inclusion of the collective bargaining rights and the grow your own teacher aspects, for which it is crucial to promote the return of the already licensed educators back into our preschool classrooms. Thank you for your time.
Thanks for your testimony and your work. Before you leave, I think the representative from Eden Prairie possibly had, do you want something now? Yeah, Representative Katiz-Watun.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Ms. Dominic, for coming in, Ms. Kirkpatrick, excuse me, to coming in and speaking on this today. It was something that I was gonna address as well, but it's so great that you were here to kind of shed a little bit more light than I could have possibly done on an issue that I'm hearing from our preschool teachers on a weekly basis. I'm a mom of a 2.5-year-old, so I'm frequently at our lower campus building and in touch with all of our ECFE and parent educators and preschool teachers, and it's a big concern. And I understand that we've lost wonderful teachers to districts surrounding who are paying more, or able to pay more. I know that we the preschool program has, just like you mentioned, shifted, and teachers have moved to the elementary classrooms. And I think that this is common sense. And I guess to Representative Hill, I just
Actually, hold on a second, Representative Katiz-Watun, because we do have another testifier, and so I want to get
I
to member.
apologize.
Yeah, no problem. I had called on you because I thought you just wanted to give an Eden Prairie Eagles shout out to the testifier.
Okay, nope.
So maybe we'll get back to you if that's okay.
Okay,
Yeah,
certainly.
thanks.
Thank you.
Ms. Kirkpatrick, thank you so much. Good. And then we've got final testifier Bree Ostoff as public testifier, so a slightly different situation. And so come on up, and once you get settled in, please identify yourself and proceed with your testimony. We've got just probably about 2 minutes we can do, so please, welcome.
I'm Bree Ostoff. Thank you, Chair and committee members. My name is Bree Ostoff, and I serve as the Director of Community Education for Farmington Area School District. Today, I represent Minnesota Community Education Association in sharing that we have concerns about House File 2281. Specifically, Section 1 will provide challenges to school districts and early childhood workforce. Currently, the bill states that any person providing instruction for a school district or charter school-based early education program must have a Minnesota teaching license by July 2027. This provision will require any current early education instructor without their early education license in a school district or charter school to go to college to obtain an early education teaching license. Many of these instructors will have to become full-time undergraduate students for 4 years and take a leave to complete the student teaching requirements. Under the current bill, there is no legacy clause to support many current early education instructors who don't have teaching license. Many of these teachers have put in years of working in preschool classrooms. They have attended their school district's yearly trainings. They have trained in implementing curricula. They have developed curricula, and many have attained early childhood trainings provided by early childhood professionals. Currently, in the field of early childhood education, especially pre-kindergarten, there's a large group of instructors who will leave the field rather than go back to school for many reasons. Most people under 20 years away from retirement are saving for their retirement or paying for their children to go to college. The difficulty to go back to school for the short time left in their careers would not be worth the financial and time debt it would cost them. Others in the profession have found this career after they've been stay-at-home parents and they have degrees in other fields, but they stayed because they love kids. They will leave to go to work in a profession of their original degrees rather than go back to school. Lastly, we have many people in this profession who started as assistants and have worked their way up, trained by us as districts. They entered the workforce without college degrees because it is what they needed to do to support themselves and their families. They do not have the funds or time to go back to school full-time or the ability to go unpaid for a semester during student teaching. While the Tier 1 and Tier 2 pathways is available for these early learning instructors, it only prolongs the inevitability if they choose not to go back to school. Districts will only employ a Tier 1 or Tier 2 teacher for so long because there are time limits on these tiers. Also, every year, a district will need to post a position and wait to establish that they cannot find a licensed early educator and prove that they were not able to fill the position.
And we'll ask you to wrap up if you
Yep.
can. Thanks.
Yep, and I've experienced this loss in other programs. Early education, childhood education cannot afford a mass exodus at this time.
Thank you so much. Thanks for your testimony. Thanks for your work. Is there any other public member of the public who wishes to testify? So not seeing any, so we can finally go back to Representative Katiza-Wattoon, so you can ask your question.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And thank you, Representative Hill, for bringing this bill forward. I'm signed on as a co-author. I think it's a lot, makes a lot of sense. And I wanted to say I'm particularly grateful that we've included the section on exemptions so that people who are currently working in these school or charter school-based settings, that they have 4 years to get their degree in place so that, they don't have to step away from this role. And I think that sort of addresses what the last testifier just brought forward. I know it's a time-based situation, but I hope that with some of the other solutions that I know that you and Chair Pryor are working through in the Education Policy Committee this year, that we can help mitigate any sort of mass exodus in this arena. But I really appreciate you bringing this bill forward.
Thank you, Representative Katiza-Wattoon. Representative Zaleznikar.
Thank you, Chair Pinto, and thank you, Representative Hill. In listening to this, I have great concern for rural Minnesota. We're in a workforce shortage. I've had my kids in home-based programs, and I've had them in center-based programs in rural Minnesota. And I think it's going to be very concerning. While we are giving people in this bill 4 years, that's not the path everybody wants to take, and there's some excellent early childhood instructors that don't have a 4-year degree right now. And in a workforce that we have right now, I think this is very short-sighted. It's going to hurt rural Minnesota tremendously at a time when we don't have the programs available to people. It is not set up the same way as Minneapolis, St. Paul. We don't have in the suburb area the access to as many programs. In some of the communities, there aren't anything. And so to limit the people that have been daycare providers or other experienced people, mothers and fathers that have phenomenal skill set and have taken classes and learned for this early childhood learning, I think that's a real miss for Minnesota to not have those people available, and to force them to get a 4-year degree is not, I think, the path we need to go. And we're talking about early childhood learning here, and I think that each district has the opportunity then to determine what their needs are, because they know their community. They know what their community needs is. And if I'm listening to the presenters, most have the certification, so it's available to them. And then in many fields, there's always a pathway where people move between things. It's that way in healthcare. LPNs become RNs. There's CNAs become LPNs. They move in different roles between preschool and kindergarten teachers and different things. And the pay grades are going to be different for scope and responsibility, and also for what the district needs are and what the geographic area needs. So I just have great concern that we are taking away people that have already proven themselves to be great in preschool. So I would caution us on what we're really going to accomplish. And while we may have some great accomplishments in one area, it's going to significantly hurt rural Minnesota.
And I'll invite Representative Hill to respond if he wishes.
Yes, and thank you, Representative, for the comments and the concern. A couple of things that I want to point out. Number one, I am certainly open. It is our hope that this bill is laid over to be considered in the future, and I am certainly open to ongoing dialogue to finding the right balance point, should there be one out there that could emerge with legacy language as forgive me, I don't want to mispronounce her last name, Ms. Ostoff spoke about. This is important. Another point I'd like to make is that there is no intention of harming greater Minnesota or any region of Minnesota as we work through this. Our hope here is to making sure that, as you said, we are certainly addressing early childhood education and our most important opportunity to invest in our young people. And so finding that right landing spot and making sure that our students are getting what they need, and also ensuring that our practitioners are receiving what they have earned. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Looks like Representative Zalesnikar, maybe you want me to go back to you, Representative Zalesnikar? Move on? Okay, all good. Representative Davis.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Representative Hill. You mentioned the right balance point. To me, the right balance point is local control, allowing the independent school district to have the control over this issue, because I believe right now they can already require this of early learning educators, can they not?
Representative Hill.
Thank you, Chair Pinto. Representative, yes, that is an opportunity that districts individually have. I think that the reason why this bill is so important, in the issue has been a light has been shown on this issue, is that because of this technicality, these teachers are left in a vulnerable position. And what I've seen during my nearly 25 years as a public education teacher is that when our colleagues are in vulnerable positions, it's our students who suffer. And so working to provide the conditions on the ground that our teachers deserve, in so ensuring that they have the training they need to provide the best possible outcomes for our kids. That's what we are seeking with the outcome here. Thank you.
Representative Davis.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yes, that is the goal. What's best for the child, and this is a one-size-fits-all approach again. The local school district knows what's best for their kids, and if the parents don't like that, they'll put in a new school board. They'll put in new leadership. This is going to hurt, as Representative Zalesnikar already brought up. This is potentially going to very much hurt greater Minnesota. And again, we have another example of the heavy hand of government coming down with rules and regulations saying, we're going to make you do this, whether you want to or not. They already have the authority to do that. Let's continue to empower our school districts locally to make this decision for themselves. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. I'm going to move to Representative Coulter.
Excuse me. Thank you, Mr. Chair. And thank you, Representative Hill, for bringing this forward. And, I guess the way I approach this bill is, I think, very much in the same sort of vein that we've had a lot of conversations in this committee, in that really it is time for us to be treating early childhood care and education in many ways the same way we treat K-12 education. We have statewide standards for licenses and so on that every K-12 teacher in the state of Minnesota has to abide by. And I don't know that I hear anybody saying that that's a problematic position, that we shouldn't have these statewide standards, and I think we should. And, we've spent a lot of time talking in this committee about how important early care and education is in terms of the amount of brain development that occurs and all of that. So if anything, these standards, that we should expect of our teachers, if anything, to me, that's more important for early care and education. And I think that's why Section 1 is so critical in this bill. And, in terms of the exact language as far as folks who are doing the work now. I think certainly Representative Hill indicated a willingness to work on that, and I think there is some room to work on that. But I think Section 2 is also really, really important because it ensures that folks who are doing this work are able to join their bargaining unit, that they're able to get the pay and the benefits and all the other things that teachers should expect. And so I think, you know, like I said, what it really comes down to is just recognizing that early childhood teachers are teachers and should be treated the same way we treat every other teacher in the state of Minnesota. Thank you.
Okay, Representative, I saw Representative Perez-Vega, and then we'll grab Representative Hudson.
Thank you, Chair. Excuse me, Representative Hill, I appreciate the extended time for those teachers, preschool teachers that are not licensed, to have the accessibility and ability to have a couple years to work on this, you know, the process of, and also the ability for a lot in my community, in our district, we have a lot of preschool teachers that are not English-speaking teachers that are working with children who don't speak English while they're learning English at the same time. These are the programs that only give an amplification of the support that those teachers need in that environment alongside those children to grow. And it's an opportunity where you're giving access through this bill time. I mean, you're seeing July 1st, 2027, where teachers that are voluntary maybe be a little scared that, oh, I don't know if I can obtain this license. I don't know if the challenges I'm up to face, but it's allowing opportunity for them to receive better pay, better benefits, and be a part of being honored with that license. And I'm really supportive of this in regards to that, giving them the opportunity to get their license by 2027. Thanks.
Thank you. Representative Hudson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'll take the bait, Representative Coulter, and go ahead and say that, yeah, I do think there are issues with the K through 12 system and that are caused in no small part by the top-down, centralized, one-size-fits-all approach to that system. And I think it's reflected in part by, on the low end, on the generous end, 50% of our students not being able to read at grade level. That's indicative of a systemic failure. This bill seems intent upon, I mean, the only folks who we know are going to benefit from it are the union. They're going to benefit. Whether or not it's going to be of benefit to the students or the teachers is an open question. But I think when we contemplate the fact that there is local control, this is an option that's already available to school districts. If we assume that they're acting in good faith, and we assume that their desire is the best possible outcomes for students and parents in their community, which I think is a very fair assumption, then we should accept the fact that those who have chosen not to mandate this have done so because in their judgment, it's going to provide the best outcomes for their students. And, you know, this has the potential to have the impact of increasing cost and operational difficulty for districts in a time when ironically, we're looking for ways to expand the pool of teachers in the K through 12 system, provide alternative paths, alternative licensure. So we've already recognized in the K through 12 system that we need to make it easier to approach these positions rather than increase the standards in order to make it more difficult. I do have one question for the author or any of his testifiers. When we talk about, there's language in here on line 113 referring to school-based early education programs. What all does that include? Would that include things like child care centers that are providing school readiness or VPK as part of a mixed delivery system?
And that may be something that our House research can help with. Representative Hill, would you rather do that? Ms. Mock, we'll see if you can help shed some light on that.
Thank you, Chair Pennell. Why don't we start there? Yep.
Okay, we'll do that. Ms. Mock, thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So these would only be teachers who are actually employed by a school district or a charter school.
And so Representative Hudson, hopefully that's helpful. Okay, good. Yep, thanks. Okay, so Representative Hill, you get the last word on your bill.
Well, once again, I want to thank you, Chair Peno, for hearing the bill, and for members of the committee for the opportunity for this rich dialogue. A couple of things come to mind as I bring this to a close. Number one, it's not in dispute. There's nobody in this room at your table that won't agree that investing in our youngest learners is key and wise and the right thing to do in my estimation. What we need to ensure is that local communities, local school districts, local teams of administrators have the opportunity to do the right thing by the professionals. And I use that term on purpose. I do use it with intention. The professionals who stand before these kids. I've had the opportunity to take part in early childhood programming as a parent. I've had the opportunity as a colleague to see these folks in action. And I've had the opportunity in another role that I fulfilled to go on home visits with early childhood educators to see the incredible work that they do. It's integral to the to the work that we do in serving our kids and ensuring that the next generation has everything they need to become the people they want to be. So I urge your support, and thank you for the opportunity, Chair Pento.
Thank you, Representative Hill. Thanks to the members for the discussion. With that, the chair lays over House File 2281 as amended for possible inclusion in committee budget bill. And thanks to your testifiers to all of them for their work.